Hey, what is going on, guys? Thanks for checking out this video, my sports Gematria. I went ahead and watched the movie Things Heard and Seen that was released this year, and it told us about the Gabby story before it happened. I mean, the plot of the movie is very similar to the Gabby. I mean, not totally similar, but just kind of how it plays out a little bit. It has a lot of similarities. But before I get into my notes on it, I do want to remind you guys I do have a playlist on my YouTube. If you go to my playlist for YouTube channel, I have the Gabby Petito case playlist. I mean, there's over 30 videos in here of a bunch of different topics. Um, Squid Game football, NFL, NBA, Kim Kardashian, Pete Davidson, Mark Wahlberg, Joe Bell, Tyson Fury, Mike Tyson, LeBron James, Space Jam, Astros, Framber Valdez, Jimmy Iovine in the Super Bowl, Reese Witherspoon, Rams, Matthew Stafford, Sanderson sisters. I mean, there's just a lot of videos, a lot of different topics. And this is just one more to add to it because of the similarities that I found in the movie itself. So let's talk about it. These are my notes. Things heard and seen. Now, before we get into the numbers and making comparisons, let's just go over the general story of the movie. A movie released at the end of April 2021, just over a month after Gabby Petito's last birthday. If only she watched this movie and took it to heart before she went on that road trip. Now, if you haven't seen this movie, spoiler alerts. I'm going to be talking about it. If you haven't seen it, spoiler alert, gave you the fair warning. So for the movie, this movie, without going into a bunch of different details, just a basic idea of the movie, it's about a guy snapping and killing his wife and a few others along the way. And it's not just him doing it. It's about this specific house that they moved into that has a history of husbands and or boyfriends killing and abusing their significant other in some form or fashion. It's something that is replayed over and over and over again in time at this specific location with different good and evil spirits guiding everyone through the process. Helping them play out their part in the whole ordeal of the killing. After the husband kills his wife, he tries to play it off. The cops can't arrest him because he does have an alibi, even though everyone knows he's guilty. And then eventually he flees before they can officially call him the suspect and is to never be seen again. Does that sound familiar? Let's compare it to the Gabby thing. Gabby and Brian, a lot of weird spiritual and ritualistic connections around her disappearance and death, including a newlywed couple who worked at the same business location that Gabby and Brian started their domestic abuse fight on August 12th. This is when the cop body cam footage came to light. That newlywed couple were found shot dead not too long after this incident. And if you look into the story of the newlywed couple, the last thing that they text, I think, to like a family member or a friend was, "We are being followed. If we disappear, somebody killed us. There's a creepy man around our camp area," or something like that. So there was a creepy man around them. They did recognize that if they weren't going to be seen again, that that's probably because they're about to be killed. And it's just interesting that this newlywed couple was at the same location at the same time that Gabby and Brian had their domestic abuse fight on August 12th. And to go further from that, her fiance Brian, he comes home alone in the van, tries to play it off without her. Everyone on the internet starts to catch on, and we all know he's guilty, but the cops don't do enough to just arrest him, only to ultimately allow him to flee and is maybe never to be seen again. Maybe not. Either way, the stories are very similar. They involved the male abusing the female and killing them, trying to cover it up, trying to play it off, and then fleeing from the crime. So let's get into the numbers. What are the numbers of the movie? Gabrielle Petito sums to 156, 75, 249, and 87. The movie title Things Heard and Seen sums to 156, 75, 249, 78. One thing I don't like about this is that the "and" symbol. There's no number for it. So it's basically things heard, seen that sums 156, 75, 249, 78. But that's how they write it. They don't write it with the words A and D. They have the symbol there. So I'm just going to assume this writing. But they're practically identical in all four base ciphers. The only difference is the 87 and the 78. And what's interesting about that is Gabby's last Instagram photo was in front of a monarch butterfly, which sums to 87, and she was originally born on the 78th day of the Gregorian year. This movie was released on April 29th, written 4/29 or 29/4, which is basically just an anagram of the number 249. Things heard, seen, 249. Gabrielle Petito, 249. And in the movie, the blonde wife that's later sacrificed tries to volunteer at a local quote unquote historical society, which sums to 249. This movie takes place in the state of New York, which has history with the number 9/11. And this movie was released on April 29th, which just so happened to be the 119th day of the Gregorian year. Gabby Petito was officially reported missing on 9/11, and she's originally from New York. The actor who played the husband in the movie, it was 9 months and 11 days since his 36-year-old birthday when this movie was released. Mathematics tells us that the number 666 is the 36 prime number. Perfect age for somebody to play the quote-unquote beast in the movie. The show was about art and a lot of different references to painters that that probably went over my head, and I'm sure that has a bunch of connections too that you can make. But there's one particular painting that they kept on referring to and they kept on bringing up, and it was a painting called Manhood, which sums to 119. It's from a series of paintings from a guy named Thomas Cole, and you can dig into his name too and find some things and connections. I just didn't at this time. I mean, I found some things, I just didn't add it into this. But keeping it going, 9/11 is the 156 prime number. Gabrielle Petito sums to 156. Things heard, seen sums to 156. This movie is about a family tree, 156, that has an unpleasant history repeating itself through spiritual work, particularly the male killing the female or his significant other. One thing I repeat over and over about the Gabby case is the number 182, 128, 812, etc., those number combinations. And I do that because Gabby's last birthday was on the 182nd day of the Hebrew Civil, and she was officially reported missing on the 182nd day of the Hebrew Religious, aka September 11th. Brian and her were pulled over on August 12th, written 8/12 or 12/8. Van Life Girl, 182. Her last Instagram post was made on a day leaving 128 left. And what's interesting about August 12th, that's actually Tyson Fury's 33rd. That's actually his birthday. He turned 33 years old on that day. Check out my Tyson Fury videos on the playlist. But this girl who was later sacrificed in the movie, actress Amanda Michelle, she's currently 35 years old, and it was 218 days since her birthday from the day of the movie release. And the number 35 sums to 128. So again, it's just the same number patterns, now involving the girl that was sacrificed within the movie, her real life distanced from her birthday, her 35-year-old birthday. In the movie, after she discovers the family tree book in the house, the first name scratched off the list as quote unquote damned, meaning the first husband to kill his wife, who is quote unquote damned. His death date was December 8th in the book, written 12/8 or 8/12. We later find out at the Historical Society, which sums to 249, right? Gabrielle Petito, 249. Things heard, seen, 249. We discover at the Historic Society that the man who built the house, on the photo in the society that they have, it reads Reverend Jacob Smith, which sums to 75, and we know Gabrielle Petito sums to 75, and the words things heard, seen sum to 75. Interestingly enough, we find out that he is considered damned as well. And he has a date death of September 27th. Now, if this was in modern times, 2021, and we measured from Gabby's last birthday to September 27th, it would be a total span of 193 days. Gabrielle Petito sums to 193. She was born on March 19th, 19/3. The number 93 is the 44th prime number. 44 sums to 144. And the actor's name who played the husband, the beast, the killer, his name is James Norton, which sums to 144. And September 27th, I have videos on that. Actually, one specific video is the Cowboys. Birdman, Little Wayne turned 39 years old on that same day, and Cowboys were blessed with the win by Gabby on that same day. So check out those videos. But yeah, the 44 connection. Now, continuing on with that date, September 27th, written 9/27 or 27/9, there's a part in the movie where the husband is smoking a joint with the lady outside of the house because they're having a neighborhood get together. They invited their friends and families over. They're trying to get, you know, he's trying to get his wife comfortable, being a stay-at-home mom as he's at the college working, yada, yada, yada. But when they're outside smoking this joint and having this conversation, it gets a little awkward. It's all the conversations that they have in this movie are around like spirituality and things of that nature. And the woman, she says, the truth will set you free, which sums to 279, right? September 27th, 27/9. And this stood out to me because what followed is something very symbolic that's known in Satanism. It's perverting good, right? It's the idea of Satanism, whatever, is to pervert the good. So that's why the cross is upside down. That's why it's called bad and not good. That's why they're dark and not light. It's all about the inversion or the perversion of something, specifically something dealing with the Bible and Christianity or whatever. But what stood out is that the husband, he symbolically perverts this message, the truth will set you free. And he does this by asking her to stick out her hands. So she sticks out her hands and she thinks he's going to read her palms. She's like, "Oh, you're going to give me a palm reading?" And what he does is he actually takes his hands and he clenches them around her wrists of her hands. And he basically asks her to get free. Go ahead and try and get free. And so she's struggling, to try to break the grip with her, that he has around her wrists with his hands. And he's just smiling. He has this weird smile or smirk on his face. And she starts to get uncomfortable because she can't break free. And I forget exactly what he says, but he basically insinuates that maybe she doesn't want to be free. Maybe the truth is, deep down inside, the truth will set you free, but maybe the truth is that she doesn't actually want to be free. Because if the truth was that she wanted to be free and the truth would set her free, then she would be free, right? She would break the grip from the wrists and she would be free. But he's perverting the message because he's trying to show her that deep down, the truth is that she doesn't want to be free. And that's why she's continuing to stay within the clenches of his grip with her wrists. And then, of course, he just lets her free and eventually, and she's just like all awkward and just confused and mad. And he, of course, is smiling because he gets off on this type of stuff. And it's an interesting scene. It's a very symbolic scene. And that's what I took from it. You'll have to watch the movie to basically understand what I'm talking about. But let's keep it going. Heaven and the world of spirits and hell from things heard and seen. So this movie is based off of the teachings of a very specific person that we're getting ready to get into. What is numerically interesting about the character said to have built the house in the movie, Reverend Jacob Smith, 183.75 and 276, is that the movie is all about the teachings and writings of Emanuel Swedenborg, 183.75, 276, and 87. Gabrielle Petito, 7587. Things Heard and Seen, 7587. Reverend Jacob Smith, 75. Emmanuel Swedenborg, 7587. The movie opens up with this quote of his, Emmanuel Swedenborg's quote, "This I can declare. Things that are in heaven are more real than things that are in the world." One thing that you need to know about the history of Emanuel Swedenborg, which is a real person, is that he created his own Swedenborg Rite, or Rite of Swedenborg, a fraternal order modeled after Freemasonry and is based upon his own teachings. Inverted cross. When the body was found in the house in the movie, there was a news report flash. The body was found. The cops. They have that's the scenes where they combine together different reactions. On the news report of the scene, they described the wife as brutally murdered, which sums to 199. And when Gabby's body was found, just like because the body was found in the movie, brutally murdered 189. When Gabby's body was found, it was the 19th of September, written 19/9. The words body found sums to 137. It was the 13th day of the 7th month on the Hebrew religious, written 137, and she was found at Bridger Teton 137. So I thought that was interesting. Brutally murdered in the report where the body was found, brutally murdered 199, and I remember that her body was found was on 19th of September 19/9, like 199. Gabby died at the age of 22 years old, and the actress in the movie who plays the victim or the wife, her real name is Amanda Seyfried, which sums to 253, the 22nd triangular number. So those are my notes that I have on the movie. Those are things that just I've jotted down while I was watching it. Interesting movie, very heavily based on spirituality, ghosts, demons, spirits, possession, seances, and it pointed to a lot of it to spiritual work, meaning the actions that the humans were taking were because the spirits were guiding them, whether it was a good spirit or a bad spirit. It's why the actions were taken is because they're being guided by outside forces. And yeah, hopefully you thought this was interesting. Hopefully this gave you some interesting information, entertaining information. I definitely appreciate you guys watching and checking out my video and checking out my work. I definitely appreciate it. And I will see you in the next video.